Hi, my name's Connie Koenig, and this is the second video I have done, and it's in regard to my laminectomy and fusion for L4 and L5. I did a update preceding surgery and then following the first day of surgery. So now I'm going to do day 2 through 5. Just a short overview of my history is that I had sciatic pain that ran from my back around to the outside of my legs and then down the middle, or outside of my hips and then down the middle of my legs. This had been going on for the last 2 years, and I had done my doctor's rounds before then. So if you're interested in exactly what went on, you might take and look up my previous video. My lead up, I did forget to say one thing. When I was doing pain management, besides doing the acupuncture, chiropractor, swimming therapy, I also had done the spinal injections. Those were allowed, according to my pain specialist, 3 times a year every 4 months. I found that those only lasted for about a month, and that they were not doing me any real help. The third time was one of the real reasons why I decided that it was necessary to move on to surgery. The third time I had an injection when all was said and done. When I got ready to leave the hospital, my right leg was completely numb. I could not put any weight on it. I could not use it in any way. When I got into the car, I had to pick my leg up so that I could move it into the vehicle. That stayed that way for the next 24 hours before it started recovering and moving normally. That was about 6 weeks, or about 7 weeks before I had surgery. By that time, there was just some numbness on the outside of my ankle. But I will continue with that a little further in. When I got to my room, within about 45 minutes or so after I was back into my room, I had to do a bathroom call. So the nurses and CNA helped me into the bathroom, and I got very nauseous. They gave me the towel and escorted me back to my bed. The bed, the chair, everything had beepers on, because after this type of surgery, they don't want you getting up because you are a fall risk. I was really surprised and very anxious, because when I got back to bed, I looked up at the board, the information whiteboard. I could see the outline of that, but I could not read anything. I could see the outline of the clock too, but I could not see. I could read, but I could not see anything past about 3 feet. I looked up at the nurse. I could see her outline. I could not see any of her facial features. So they assured me that this can sometimes be after effect. So I went back to bed, and by next morning it had cleared substantially. I still could not read at any distance, but I could see the nurse's features, and I could see that there was writing up on the board. So that was a great improvement from what I had. One of the things that I noticed right away was that I still had no pain. Still, the aching and the tightness was there, but no real pain. The occupational therapist came in mid-morning, and we did some walking. We lapped the nurse's station in the center section twice. The occupational therapist or physical therapist, whichever she was, took me over the stairs and made sure that I could go up and down the stairs without assistance, which both were prerequisites of being able to be dismissed. I was able to take and walk with the assistance of a walker, but I wasn't real steady on my feet yet. At this time, I had the option, since I said I had no pain, of taking the muscle relaxers and the pain pills as prescribed once every 4 hours. I chose not to at that time because I didn't feel I needed either. I felt I was doing very well. So that was one of the things that I found that was for the first day. And let's see. Then the next day, I used the walker and we lapped the nurse's station 4 times. And again, was only taking the short medication that I was thinking I needed. And there was sort of a pain that I had noticed in my right leg. It was almost like an awakening pain, like a nerve pain when it's coming out of being asleep. So I did notice that and put that back to the injection from the previous spinal injection. The third day I was dismissed. I was seen by the occupational therapy for the things I needed to know and do, getting dressed and taking care of myself, and the physical therapist. One of the things that we did do was go down to the physical therapy room, and they had a mock-up car so that you could practice getting in and out of the car when you're transporting yourself. That's where I really noticed the uncooperability of my right leg, because in order to get in that mock-up car, I had to physically lift my leg, and when I turned, actually hold it so that it would get in the car. So that was hopefully that it was to be better, and that the therapist suggested that if it did not, that I request a nerve study when I seen the doctor at 2 weeks. So I put that in my memory bank. Funny thing is I never did get, we completed my discharge papers, but I never got them, because as we completed them, the nurse said, well, I'm going to take them, get a copy, and I'll bring this back to you. But they had a electrical fire in the elevator. So they were locked down, so the nurse took my discharge papers, and I was never ever given my discharge papers. They were left, I guess, at the nurse's station. But my ride from the hospital to home was 45 minutes. And I did feel that ride, because when I got home, I did have more of an ache. I did have more of a I guess you would say more tightness. When I was in the hospital, the nurse, the physical physician's assistant had told me that I needed to ice my back 20 minutes 4 times a day. When I mentioned that to the nurses at the hospital, they had told me no, it wasn't on the orders, therefore we weren't doing it. So when I got home and was having that stress, I did use a ice pack for 20 minutes, and that did help. When I got home, we live in a home that has 4 levels, and between each level there's 7 steps, and they told me to try to keep the steps down. So I decided that I would stay in my sitting room, bedroom area. That way I had all the services I needed. I had a 25 to 30 foot hall to take and walk up and down, and right outside our bedroom is a large balcony, so I could use both of them for walking. So I did traverse the hallway several times and try to keep up the walking. I found that the recliner was not as comfortable and supportive as it should be. So I went down and got one of the office chairs that had armrests, had wheels so I could wheel around, because I found as I got to feeling better that twisting, you started doing that automatically. So the chair twisting for you meant you wouldn't have to do that, and it was easier to remember. That was one of the things I realized. And two other things that I realized was that the grabber sounded like a little overdue. But they recommend that you put a towel or something on a chair and scoot forward. After you do that, quite often the towel ends up on the floor, so you've got to pick it up. You can't bend down so the grabber can pick it up. If you've got earphones, inevitably they are on the floor. You need to pick them up. So the grabber comes in handy. The other thing that I found that I wasn't so sure I would need was a seat riser for the toilet, because even though I have a very one steady hand, with our bathroom stools are very low, I think it would have been a struggle to get up and down, even with a walker and firm support on one hand, without it. So those are two things I'd recommend, and also checking your chairs and what you have, where you will be spending your time, to make sure that it's easy for you. I recommend also looking at YouTube and figuring out how to do the log roll so that you can get in and out of your bed. My bed is an adjustable bed, and I also have a topper on it, so it is higher. I had to get a stool to take in, step up on, and so I could slide back into the bed. But I do find that that's a blessing, because when I'm ready to get out, I just slide over to the edge, and when I put my feet down, my buttocks is just even with the bed, so all I do is stand up. So that's a real blessing. So if you have a high bed, it might be good to realize that it's not a hindrance, it's a help. So what I'm doing now, after research, like I said, I found that your body tries to take care of what it sees is important, which might be the inflammation and maybe soreness. So if you're not taking your pain and muscle relaxers as you're supposed to, the third thing that your body would be looking at is actually the healing process. If that's true, I decided it was better for me to be taking my medications 4 times a day rather than twice, where I thought was okay for me. I have become really aware that you need to get up and walk every 45 minutes to an hour, and that's so that blood clots don't form. And that sounds like a really remote possibility, but I will give you 3 examples of where it wasn't. I've known 3 people that have passed away because of blood clots. One was a 35-year-old woman that had an ankle surgery. The other was a 45-year-old man that had a stent put in his heart. The third was a lady that was 65 that had a knee replacement. All 3 died from blood clots. Though it is a remote possibility, it happens, and by doing your walking, it helps decrease that possibility. So please do your walking. Let's see. Today was a day that I really became aware of trying to get in bigger and longer walks. I take and have a circular driveway around our home. So today was one of the days that I would go out and walk completely around my driveway a couple of times, and I did that 3 times today. Tomorrow I'll do it 4. Each day I plan to add an additional day, or an additional lap. My goal right now is the day after tomorrow is to be able to go grocery shopping with my husband without having any real stiffness or pain or aching, so that it is doable and that I'm getting in more of my household activities. So Monday will be the 6th day, because I had it on Tuesday of last week. Let's see what else I might have to tell you. I think that's just about all that that I think is important up to this date. I don't really see that it's going to be making much difference in day by day. So I will not plan on doing an update until the either 7th day or the 14th day. The 14th day is the day I will go see this surgeon and have a more up-to-date report. After that, maybe I might do a 2-month, a 6 weeks, 3 months, something like that. So if I see anything that's come up, I might do another one before there. Otherwise, this is it for a few days. So have a nice evening, and we will talk with you later. Bye.